Yo, what is up? We are back with a new video, and today we are going to explore the settings menu, the full settings menu. Now, I've made a video about this, but today I'm going to cover everything in the settings menu A to Z. The only difference is if you look at the description down below, I will highlight the timestamps of all the important settings that you should pay attention to. But in this video, I'm going to cover everything A to Z in the settings menu. So let's start with the general settings. Censor offensive words in chat messages. This is basically if people say F you and whatever, it gets deleted. Hide spam is for people who click on the map a lot or keep messaging the same thing like help me, or whatever, you know. So hide spam is really important because it gets annoying. Display date in messages. You can have this on if you want to, if you don't log into the game a lot. Maybe you're gonna get messages that, you know, from last week or a month ago if you don't log in a lot. Display time in messages, I like to have this one on because sometimes I log in the evening and then I respond to messages that were sent to me early in the morning when I didn't need to respond to those messages, perhaps. So if at least I can have a look at the time, then I'll figure out if I need to respond to them or not. Accept invitations from friends in the garage. When you have this on, you can only accept invitations from your friends list. If you're not in your friends list, you will not see those invitations. Accept invitations to platoon in battle. This is useful if you want to make friends, if you want to have a dynamic platoon while you're in game. You want to invite somebody into your platoon so that you can chat with them, or you can communicate with them in the voice chat and tell them what to do or how to help you win the game. That could be useful to you. Accept friend requests. If you're not a friendly guy, you can just turn this off, but I always have this on so that I can make new friends. Receive messages only from your contact list. If you have this on, you will not receive any kind of messages from anybody except from your friends list. If you turn on this one, disable chat with allies, you will not receive any kind of chat with your teammates in the random battles. Disable general chat. This apparently they put this on with some idea of implementing it, but it's blacked out, which means it's still not available. Maybe it's not available in my region. It could be available in your region. I'm not sure about that. Receive clan notifications. Receive clan notifications means receive clan invites. If you don't belong in a clan, someone could invite you in game to join their clan, and if you have this on, it means you are able to receive those invites. Let's move on down to random battle types. I have standard battles and encounter battles turned on. I do not like assault. This is the attack and defense. Assault means defense team wins more than the attack teams, but of course it also depends on how good your teammates are. Grand battles are the 30 versus 30 on a gigantic map. I don't like that mode, so I have it off. Vehicle panel is in your garage. You want a one level, it means one row of tanks, or you want 2 rows of tanks, one on top of the other. 2-level vehicle panel. Do you want an adaptive? Adaptive means you have a picture of the tanks in your garage, and the other one is minimalistic, only the names of those tanks. So it's a skinny 2-level carousel, you would say. So I like the adaptive and I like 2-level. And display stats upon hovering over the slot in the garage. When you hover over the tank in your carousel, you will be able to see the win rate of that tank. Okay, next, enable battle recording. Some people do not have the computing power to keep all these additional information, so you might want to have it off, but you can have just the last one on if you want, so that in case you need to save that replay, or in case you need to record that replay, at least you will have it. But I have mine to all, which means I keep all my recordings. so I can replay them, I can reference them if I can learn something from them. If I made a mistake, if I could play the game better, I would refer to those replays. Display mark of excellence. This is the mark of excellence on the barrel of the gun. With some tanks have 1 marks, 2 marks, 3 marks. Display them or not display them, that's up to you. Hide non-historical elements. These are in reference to your camouflage. It refers to paint. It refers to the styles. Some elements are non-historical and they are clearly marked on the elements. If you go into your customization garage, you will be able to see the elements that are non-historical because they are marked in the box on the top right with a marker that says non-historical. So if you have this checked, your tank or enemy tanks or allied tanks that use non-historical elements like those funny bright colors, bright camouflage paints or camouflage designs, camouflage paints, styles that are non-historical, they will not show in your user interface. So if you want to keep your game like looking more real, you can uncheck this. You can check this and all the non-historical elements will not show while you are playing the game. Next up, display server selection upon game launch. This will show you whether you're on RU1, RU2, RU3, RU4, EU1, EU2, EU3, EU4, NA1, NA12. It'll show you which server you are on and you can change the servers according to how popular they are or which one gives you the better ping. Anonymize your nickname in battle. You can make yourself anonymized, hide your username so that people don't know who you are, they can't see your stats in game and they won't be able to focus you down if you are a great player. But you also cannot use XVM. If you use XVM, you won't be able to use XVM on your enemies if you have this anonymized. If you anonymize yourself, by right, you can't also see your enemy stats. So that's up to you whether you want your to be anonymized or not. Next up, let's look at the battle interface. Show vehicle tier. You want to see the vehicle tier because you want to know gives you a better, clearer vision of what's happening on the battlefield. I think that's important. Minimap transparency refers to the minimap. Let's turn it on. Let me show you. Enabling this will reduce computer performance in battle. Okay, let's just turn it on, and now you look at the transparency of my minimap. You can see my minimap on the right here. It's very transparent now. Some even say it's not clear at all. I prefer not to have it. I prefer it to have it completely solid, so that I can see everything clearly what's on the minimap. Let's go back to the settings and continue. Enable optics effects in sniper mode. Now optics effects refers to this circle thing that I'll show it to you. And yeah, let's go into optics. It's kind of blurry on the sides, so you're supposed to be looking through your optics, make it look real. I'd rather not have it, so I remove it so that it's clear. The next one is show post-mortem mode vehicle that destroyed your vehicle. So if you have this checked after you died, the camera will immediately snap to the person that killed you. I don't want to know who killed me, it doesn't matter to me, so I have it turned off, I don't care. The next one is enable a dynamic camera. Enable dynamic camera refers to the when you fire your gun, your tank shakes, so your camera shakes as well. It's kind of annoying, especially if you are in the during the fog of war while you're fighting, while there is a lot of battle, when there's a lot of fighting going on around you. You don't want your camera to be shaking, so I have it off. Horizontal stabilization. I'll show you exactly what horizontal stabilization works in sniper mode right now. So let's turn it off and let me show you how it works. Okay, then back to battle. Now I have my camera pointed in front, my tank pointing in front, and now if I turn my tank, the camera turns along with it, and this is what horizontal stabilization off does. So now let's say I'm looking that way and I'm driving forward. Now if I go into sniper mode, now I turn my tank, you can see my camera turning as well as the reticle turning. It is really uncool. That's what happens when you have your horizontal stabilization turned off. When you're in sniper mode and you turn your tank, your camera also turns. So if you're aimed at something and you're trying to drive your tank, it is really distracting and very hard for you to keep your you know, keep your whereabouts. So it's best to have it horizontal stabilization in sniper mode on, so that when you are in sniper mode and driving and turning and wiggling, your gun is still locked to wherever you are looking. This is really important for you, so let's keep that on if possible. Next, let's go on to enable 16 and 25. Now enable 16 and 25 times zoom. You should have it together on with your restrict toggling to sniper mode. What happens is this is what happens if you turn off restrict toggling. Okay, and I'll show it to you. If you use your scroll mouse, you can third person straight into sniper mode. Third person straight into sniper mode and out again. If you like it this way, you can keep it this way. But I like to toggle with the shift, so that I can't scroll wheel out of sniper mode into third person mode by accident. Also, I like to have it enabled to 25 times zoom, and I will show you in a minute why. When I'm sniping tanks at a distance, and let's say I'm not moving at all, this is the maximum default, which is 8x zoom. I like it maximum 25, so if I am stationary and sniping at tanks out far in the distance, I can be a little bit more accurate. But I suggest that once you're done with 25 times zoom, go back to your 8 times zoom and then shift out to your third person. You do not want to be in 25 times zoom for too long. Oh, anyway, let's go back to our next setting, which is enable server reticle. Now, server reticle is a delayed reticle. It is the actual reticle on the server, which means you see my reticle kind of like jumping and not very smooth, because that is the reticle that is registering on the server. Now, it is the most accurate reticle, but because it's jumping around, it is kind of annoying and it's kind of difficult for you to aim. Unless you are playing on 250 ping, I do not suggest you enable the reticle server. There is only one person I know of that uses reticle server. Other than that, I do not know anyone else that uses reticle server. Now, next up, we will go on to show vehicle markers on the score panel. You want this one because this gives you a little bit more information. Next one is display camera direction on the minimap. Now, without this display camera direction, this is what happens on the minimap. You only left with a cone. You don't have the direction where you are looking at. If you have the direction where you are looking at, it's a lot better, especially if you are trying to shoot something at a distance. You will be able to kind of use that marker to aim at something your teammate spots for you. Perhaps it's easier for you to locate them, especially if they are in a last known position. That's very important. Display arc is for your SPG. You know, it displays the left and right, you know, the cone that I was showing you about when I was showing you the display camera direction. This one. Okay, let me show you. So in your SPG, it will show you these two lines, one line here and one line here, and that is the arc that you can shoot without moving the hull of your tank. You can shoot at all these areas around here. It will show you a kind of like a huge cone. So that's what the display arc is about. Have that turned on. Display notifications when causing damage. This is important because it shows you that critical damage, penetrated, not penetrated, bounced and stuff like that. That is really useful for you. Next up is display the speedometer of wheeled vehicles. Yeah, when you're in the wheel tanks, you want to know what kind of speed you are on. It shows you right next to where you're right in the center of your screen, in fact. So that's really useful. Enable expanded minimap features. Always enable it. Why? Because I'll show you in a minute. If you don't have it enabled, this is what happens. You saw me earlier spotted the enemy in the base. That person's disappeared, right? If you have it disabled, you're not going to know where was their last known position. Now, I spotted them earlier when I was driving across, so they're still in the cap circle, but because I have it disabled, I do not know where their last known location is. So let's turn it on again, and always, and now it will show you the last known location. There, my friend was still there the last time, and let's spot him again. Yes, Joey 83 is still in the cap circle. So that's what enabling the expanded minimap features are. It's really important for this, just so you know all the last known locations of the enemy spotting. And this, coupled with the display camera direction, you can use this to shoot your enemies if they are in a unspotted position. Let's say example, my friend there was unspotted, and let's say I cannot spot my friend there in the cap circle, but with the gun arc that I have, I can estimate where that person is by aiming at the, if I look at the minimap down here, I can point this line with the last known location of where my friend was, where the enemy was anyway, and that enemy is outside my spotting capabilities. I can still shoot that enemy if, let's say, my friend spotted that person there, or I can just blind shot that person. He's right there. Okay, so that's what it's that's how it's going to be useful. The next, let's have a look. Tips on the battle loading screen. You want to have the minimap on. You don't want to have text. You don't want to have illustrated tips. Always just look at the minimap, so at least you can plan your game plan ahead of schedule, right? While the game is loading. The same as for ranked battle loading screen, you want that on all the time. This one is important. Show view range circle, show maximum spotting range, show the draw circle. Why? Because this is going to show you your view range. The green circle is your current view range. The white circle is the maximum view range, which is 445 meters, and the yellow one, the outer ring, is 554 meters, which is your maximum render range. Maximum render range means that is the furthest you can, the enemy will render, any tank will render in your computer, in your monitor. So if you have this off, look at my minimap now, none of them. I have no idea what my view range is. I have no idea what my maximum view range is, and I have no idea what the maximum render range is. So that's not good if you want to be competitive. If you want to be competitive, you want as much information as you can. This is basic information that everybody has and everybody should have, so you should have this. So you know. Now right now you can see my green my green line is overlapping my white line. That is because in this tank my maximum view range is where my maximum spotting range is. That means I've maxed out the spotting potential of this tank, which is 445 meters. In fact, I think my view range on this tank is about 500 meters, but my maximum is 445, which I can spot. Next up, after that is done, garage camera. This relates to your garage. Do you want your camera rotating while it's in the garage? I don't like it rotating. I don't like it moving. You can have it moving after 30 seconds idle, 45 seconds idle. That's completely up to you. Or you can have the camera animation when moving your mouse cursor. If you have it on and you're in the garage, you're moving your cursor around, the garage moves a little as well, if you like it that way anyway. So next up, let's go to the graphics. This is dependent on your computing power, of course, whatever computer you have. You can click on recommended and have the game recommend the settings for you, or you can pick from here: ultra, maximum, high, medium, low, minimum, or custom. I have mine at custom. I have windowed borderless. You can have it full screen if you want. You can have it windowed if you want, depending on how you like it. I like it at borderless so that I can tab out without having the screen go blank, and that's how I like it. I have it at 1920 by 1080. Of course, this depends on what kind of monitor you are using, so check what kind of monitor you are on and then you set it accordingly. I have vertical synchronization on, and this relates to my computer performance. Do not have this on if you don't have to. If you have like a fairly decent computer and you don't need to record stuff like I do, this won't affect you, so don't have it on, because when you have vertical synchronization on, your frame rate is capped at 60 FPS. If you are capable of more than 60 FPS, if you have a monitor that renders that has a refresh rate of more than 60 FPS, you do not want to have a VS on, because if you have 125 frames per second, it's a lot better than having 60 frames per second on. Although 60 frames per second on in this game is not a big deal at all. Now I have colorblind mode on as well. That is because I prefer it not blood red. If you look at my enemy there, he's purple color, kind of bluish purple. Otherwise he would be red, so I have colorblind mode on for that purpose, for that little bit of a softer look. So I have that on. Interface scaling, I have it at auto. Of course you can set it to whatever you like. I have a 2 monitor, so I have this on. 3D render resolution, the higher you have it on, the better your picture will be, but I have it at dynamic and let the computing power take care of it. If I have enough computing power, it'll be better. If I have less computing power, it'll adjust automatically. This is just my preference. You find out what is your sweet spot. Color adjustment refers to, let's check it out. This is default. You can have preset and you can have filter intensity there. Let's have it at maximum filter intensity, and we'll have a look at the 1940s cinema film. This is a muted look. This is high contrast. Now we have soft colors. We have photochromatic. This is the deep look. A lot of people like to use the deep look. And this is random, which means it changes for you anytime you want. You can also have it at custom settings. Maximize the brightness, a little bit contrast, less saturation. This is what it looks like before on the right, and on the left this is what it looks like after. Basically very straightforward. I like it at the standard one, so I'll just leave it at there. Let's go to sound. This is my sound settings. You don't need to follow this. Find out your own preferred settings. I like no music in the garage, no music in battle. I want my effects minimum, but I want my voice notifications on maximum. Here is the voice chat. You can have it enabled or disabled. Q is your push to talk. You can have voice chat enabled here if you want. Adjust the volume and sensitivity all around here if you want. In-game voice chat. Master volume is, of course, is always here. You can adjust all all your sounds here. You can play around here. You can auto select. You can choose headphones, whatever system, 7.1, 5.1, 2.1. That's completely up to you. Find one that suits your computing power and your setting. Voice messages in battle, you can have your commander, means they will speak in the language like if you're in a French tank, it will speak French. If you're in a Russian tank, they will speak in Russian. I prefer mine standard, so I think it's that will be in English because my game client is in English. Oh, by the way, if you want your game client, if you want to adjust your language settings in your game client, you go to your game center to do it. You turn on your game center, and at your game center, make sure your game is off. By the way, your game client needs to be off, and next to your World of Tanks is your general settings, game settings. If you click on your game settings, you can click your preferred language, your game language anyway. If you go to your game settings here in your game center, that's where you adjust your game language. So let's go back to the game anyway. And yep, so we've done that, and here is your 6th sense activation. You can have your standard sound, which sounds like this. You can have the other sound, which sounds like this. That's your 6th sense sounds. Or you can have your personalized sound, which I have. It's called the user sound, and you play it. I have Arnold Schwarzenegger here, and you can change the sounds here by going to your World of Tanks folder, and you go to your games folder, World of Tanks, double click on it, go to your res folder, go to your audio WW folder. This is where all your sounds are. These are all my extra sounds that I put in here. The one that you want to use, you've got to name it 6th sense, which is this one. This is the one I'm using.
Do it! Do it! Come on!
So this is the one that I'm using now. I also have the full version of that one over here, or I can use this one from Breaking Bad.
Where's my money, bitch?
Now if I wanted to use this one, I just need to rename it to 6th sense, and the 6th sense I'll rename it to something else, and automatically the game will pick it up from the user sound. I also like this one, which is Get to the Chopper. Arnold again.
Get to the chopper!
Yeah, so you can edit this in MP3. There's a lot of ways you can do it. Of course, you find out by yourself how to do it. Just Google it and then edit it to MP3 or whatever. It needs to be a certain size and a certain length. Make sure you don't exceed the size and length. Stick it in here and have it ready to go. Just rename it to 6th sense whenever you want to use it, and you are good to go. Next up is controls. Controls is pretty simple, straightforward here. These are all the standard controls that I use. I have not changed anything basically. I can show you my sensitivity. This is my arcade aim sensitivity and sniper aim sensitivity and my artillery sensitivity. It is not very high. It is not very low either. It used to be a lot lower, but ever since the introduction of wheeled tanks, I felt like I need the sensitivity to be a little bit higher so that I can turn my turret a bit quicker to shoot at those fast moving tanks. Also, if you're interested to know, my DPI for my mouse at the moment is 900. I use between 900 and 1100. I used to use 800, or I even tried 400 before in the past, but I feel that around 900 and 1100 is the way to go right now, with all the fast moving tanks, the T100 LTs, all the light tanks that drive really quickly around you. When they circle around you and you have a low sensitivity, it's really hard to chase them. It's really hard to lead your shots. Or if you have like a really big table and you have a lot of real estate on your table, then you can have low sensitivity, but then you're going to have a lot of elbow movement because you need to move your entire hand across the table to chase those tanks around. Right now, this is my sweet spot. This kind of sensitivity is the way I like it, so I'm going to stick to it. You find your own sweet spot. I'm just showing you mine here. Next up, let's go to reticle settings. Reticle settings, you have arcade and sniper mode. I like to keep them both exactly the same settings. Now, you can play around with the aim, you know, you can play around with whatever central marker you want. You can play around with whatever aim circle you want. You can play around with whatever gun marker you want. You can play around with how bright you want it or not. I have them all in maximum brightness. It's up to you how bright you want them. You can play around with everything you want here, but the only thing you shouldn't play around with is with the indicator. The indicator, there's 3 choices here: diagonal, horizontal, and the last one is radial. You should always have it at you have dashed as well, sorry. You have 4 choices. Always pick diagonal, and the reason why you want to pick diagonal is because you want to make use of this line here, which I will show you a bit later on in this video. But anyway, the only thing that matters here is this part here, the indicator. Make sure you use diagonal. Everything else, play around with it. Some of them have a load indicator along with the marker. It will show you when it loads, and some has armor penetration values that go along with the marker. It shows if you can pan it, it'll turn green. If you can't pan it, it'll turn red, or if you have the colorblind mode on, it'll turn purple if you can't pan it. So this is really useful if you want to know whether you can pan or not. But play around with it, find out which one works for you and which one does not work for you. Let's move on. Next one is marker, and for the marker, I like using this one. Enemy team and our team. The only thing that matters is enemy team. You can completely ignore our team and destroyed. Just remember enemy team and this part. Make sure you tick this one is to see whatever tier the enemy tank is, what vehicle model. If you want to know, or if you don't want to know, that's up to you. It's better if you know, in my opinion. You want to know the player's name or you don't want to know the player's name, that's up to you. Health indicator, you want to know how much HP the enemy has because you are trying to kill it. Auto aim indicator is this one over here. If you've locked on, this is what it looks like. It's going to show that you have auto aimed at it. This one is really important. HP left, there's a few choices. You can use percentage, but it doesn't give you a number. HP out of the complete total HP, that's quite useful too, but I prefer just the HP left. At least I know how many shots it takes. Let's say my gun does 300 alpha, I can estimate it's going to take me 3.5 shots to kill off this guy, so it's important to know that. Damage received is also important because when you make a shot, you know whether you high rolled or low rolled. If you have a 400 alpha gun, maybe you high rolled, maybe you low rolled. At least this gives you an indication. You will know exactly whether you high rolled or you low rolled. Next up is battle notification. A battle notification here, we're going to start with the fire direction. You want to know all these critical hits. Maybe you don't want to know critical hits, that's up to you. Friendly fire, you could turn it off if you want, but you want to know the amount of damage that is being done to you. You want to know what vehicle hit you. You do not want it at standard, because standard looks like this. You don't know who shot you, you don't know how much damage you took. You want it at advanced. You want it to look at least like this. Next up, battle events. You want to see this or you don't want to see this, that's up to you. If you show it in battle, it's going to show up in your feed like this, right in the center of your user interface. It'll show you all the damage. It'll show you damage blocked if you want. Pick what you like here and it'll show it for you. Next up, we move on to log. Log damage caused by you. It's going to show here. Now normally standard you want to have all these 4 on, but I have a custom one that I'm using right now, which looks like this. It is color coded and it is a mod that I use. I can leave a link to that mod if you want. This is one of the mods in my mod pack. Also, this is a mod pack here, the total HP here. This is not included in the standard game. This is a mod, but I'm already using this, so I forgo the ones that is down here. So let me show you which one it is. It is in log. I have it removed. but I still have the total damage, which is still here. So I kept that one, and I kept all the rest here. The map border, I like this one, and I like it only when I approach the map. You pick the one that you like. Progress of personal missions, I don't like it. I don't care about personal missions, so I do not have it displayed. But if you have it displayed, it's going to look like that. It's going to show you how far you've progressed in your personal missions. That's up to you. I have it off. I do not care about it. So basically that's about it. We're going to go back to graphics, and I'm going to show you the details of the graphics here. And this part we didn't go through earlier, and I'm going to go through it now. I have most of this part I have all maxed out. The rest of it, some of them are minimized. You choose the ones that you like. The ones that I suggest you always turn off is a motion blur effect, because you don't want that blurry thing going on when there's a lot of action going on. If it's blurry, you can't see straight, you can't aim straight, so that's not good. Make sure you turn it off. These water quality, terrain quality, they do affect your computer performance, so don't have it maximum, you know, make it kind of like less, you know, less maximum. They don't have to look that great, but if your computer can take it, go for it, I would say. Grass in sniper mode, let me show you what grass in sniper mode looks like. I'm gonna stick a video in here for you what grass in sniper mode looks like. When you have grass in sniper mode unchecked and you approach a hill like this is a grassy hill, you can see the enemy is clearly defined when you are cresting over the ridge. But if you have it on, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to have a lot of grass in the way. Sometimes you don't know where the edge starts and where the enemy begins, so sometimes this is what happens. It's not clear, it's not defined. So if you get rid of grass in sniper mode, it's going to be a lot clearer for you. It works best when you are playing in grassy areas and where you need to be hulled down and be safe from the enemies. So when you have grass in sniper mode, have a look. Very unclear. You need to poke a lot more and risk taking damage or risk being spotted. And when you have it off, you have a clear line over the ridge, and it's going to work better that way. So make sure you turn off your grass in sniper mode to get better results, safer when you poke over a ridge, especially ridges that have a lot of grass. Let's move on. After grass in sniper mode, extra effects quality, I have it all down. And the last thing I wanted to show you was reticle. Reticle, I have another video for it, so let's cut to that video now, and how that this diagonal reticle thing is going to work for you. So here's the situation where I am spotted and my teammate, my friend here, is going to shoot at me, and this is how I'm going to use that diagonal reticle thing and that spotting thing, the damage thing that I showed you earlier in the settings. And this is how you line up those shots. Even though your enemy is not spotted, you can take an educated guess, or you can take a guess where they are shooting you from. As soon as you get shot, you line up your reticle together with how you are spotted in that straight line, and you know that they are in that bush somewhere, and you can immediately start returning fire. And this is how all the best players use this reticle and use this technique of blind shooting your enemies. So you can learn it too. Anybody can do it, but make sure you have the right tools for it. Again, for the last time, let's see if I get spotted. I get shot again, and now I'm gonna line it up there, and there is where I guess he is, and I will take a shot at him. So that's how you use it. Alright, I guess we're done. We've covered everything A to Z. I hope you've enjoyed this video, a very long video indeed. I'm going to leave a timestamp, of course, for all the important things that you should and should not have in your settings. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you once again.